Hello everyone, my name is Nidhi Chauhan. I am assistant professor in Gyan Vihar School of Pharmacy. That is a part of your Suresh Gyan Vihar University chapter. So today we are going to discuss fats and oils that comes in your pharmaceutical organic chemistry section, and that is the third unit. So let's start. So the learning objective. So the learning objective of this topic is about to study about the fats and oil, and also we are going to study about the saponification, and what is your saponification, what value it is, and also we learn about the analytical constant, their significance, the analytical constant that involves your acid value, saponification value, iodine value. These are involved in this fat and oil chapter, which is your analytical constants. And student outcome here, they will going to know about the fats and oil, what are fats and oil, and also they are going to know about the significance of the analytical constants. And so let's start our topic. First is your saponification. Saponification. In the last lecture we have already discussed about the topics that is your hydrolysis, hydrogenation, drying of oil. So in that lecture we have already studied. So here today we are going to study about this saponification. So saponification is a process that involves conversion of fat, oil, or lipids into soap and glycerol by the action of heat in the presence of aqueous alkali, that is your NaOH. And the soaps are fatty salts of fatty acids, and fatty acids are monocarboxylic acid that have long carbon chain, at least 10, example here sodium palmitate. So the saponification, this is a process. It is a process that is involving the conversion the conversion of fats and oil or lipids. The fats are the solid at room temperature, and the oils are liquid at room temperature. Room temperature here means at 25 degrees centigrade, and the fats also at 25 degrees centigrade. They occur as solid, and oils also occur as oil also occur as liquid at room temperature, because they contain the unsaturated hydrocarbon, and these fat contain the saturated fatty acids. So that is why the fats are solid at room temperature and oils are liquid at room temperature. And also this lipid into soap. So here the conversion of fat, oil, or lipid into fat, soap and glycerol by the action of heat in the presence of aqueous alkali. So here by the action of heat, here we are applying this heat so that, and also we are using this aqueous NaOH, that is the sodium hydroxide, which is the alkali, which is a base that we are using to convert the fat, oil, or lipid into your soap and your glycerol. So soaps, what are the soaps now? What soaps are salts of fatty acids. Means the soaps are salt of fatty acids, and these fatty acids are monocarboxylic acid that have long carbon chain, at least 10. Example, a sodium palmitate. So here saponification is a process that is involving your conversion of your fat and oil or lipid into your soap or glycerols by the action of heat. Here we are using heat to convert it to the soap and glycerol, and also to the presence of your alkali, that is your NaOH. That is your NaOH, and that NaOH is your alkali, and the soaps are the converted soaps and glycerols. The soaps are the salts of fatty acids, and the fatty acids are the monocarboxylic acid, means the carboxylic acid group is present in this fatty acid, and they are also having this carbon chain, this long carbon chain. This long carbon chain is also present in this fatty acid, and which are having 10, at least 10 carbon chain is there. For example, is your sodium palmitate. So here you will see this reaction. This is your triglyceride, and in your triglyceride, it is a mixture, it is the ester when it is treating with this NaOH, which is your alkali, and with the alkali as well as the heat is also applied, and it is converted into your glycerol and your sodium palmitate. So here sodium palmitate is your soap and this is your glycerol. So here the triglycerides, which is your ester, which is your fat or your oil. If it is containing a single bond, then it is your fat, and if it is containing a double bond, that is your unsaturated, then it is your oil. So this fat or oil, that is your triglyceride, that is heating in the presence of your alkali, that is your NaOH, and that is converting in the glycerol as well as your sodium palmitate, which is your soap. Next are the analytical constants. So analytical constant, what are the analytical constants? So in analytical constant, first is your acid value. So what is your acid value? So in chemistry, acid value or neutralization number or acid number or acidity is the mass of potassium hydroxide or sodium hydroxide in milligram that is required to neutralize the free fatty acids in 1 gram of the fat. So here in chemistry, this acid value, which is also a neutralization number or your acid number or your acidity, which is the mass of potassium hydroxide or sodium hydroxide in milligram. So we are taking the mass of potassium hydroxide or sodium hydroxide in milligram, which is that is required. This mass of potassium hydroxide or sodium hydroxide in milligram is required to neutralize the free fatty acids in 1 gram of the fat. So in 1 gram of the fat, the presence of free fatty acid, we have to neutralize that free fatty acids, and this acid value, this is the mass of your potassium hydroxide, your sodium hydroxide in milligram, and that is required to neutralize the free fatty acid in 1 gram of the fat. So the acid value or your neutralization value or your acid number or your acidity, it is the mass of sodium hydroxide or potassium hydroxide in milligram that is required. This alkali that is required, the mass of these alkali that is required to neutralize the fatty acids that are present in 1 gram of the or fats. So here the acid number is the measure of the number of carboxylic acid group in a chemical compound. So the fatty acids also contain this carboxylic acid. That is why the acid value, acid number or acid value is a measure of the number of carboxylic acid group in a chemical compound, such as your fatty acid or in a mixture of compound. So here we are measuring the number of carboxylic acid group in a chemical compound, and that is your fatty acid or a mixture of compound. So the acid value is a measure of the number of carboxylic acid group in a chemical compound, such as a fatty acid or in a mixture of compound. So the acid number is used to quantify the acidity of a substance. It is quantity of, it is used here, this acid number is used to quantify the acidity of a substance. So it is a quantity of base expressed in milligram of potassium hydroxide or sodium hydroxide, which is required to neutralize the acidic constituent in 1 gram of sample. So here this acid number, it is used to quantify the acidity of solid. So the acid number which is used, which we are using, this acid number, we are using this acid number in to quantifying the acidity, of a substance. So it is the quantity of a base. So here acid number is the quantity of base that is expressed in your milligram of potassium hydroxide or sodium hydroxide, which is required to neutralize the acidic constituent in 1 gram of sample. So here the same thing, same definition that is given here, that acid number or acid neutralization number or acid number or acidity is the mass of potassium hydroxide. So here it is written that it is the quantity of base, that is a mass of the base. These are the base, potassium hydroxide or sodium hydroxide, and these are expressed in your milligram, and these are given in milligram. That is required to neutralize the free fatty acid in 1 gram of fat. So here, which is required to neutralize the acidic constituent. The acidic constituent here are the free fatty acids, and in 1 gram of the fat, that is your sample. So the acid number here is used to quantify the acidity of substance. And acid number is also the measure of the carboxylic group, because the carboxylic acid groups are present in this fatty acids and in a chemical compound, such as your fatty acid or in a mixture of compounds. Next are the method and procedure. So how we will do this acid value procedure? What are the procedure and what are the method of this acid value? That is your reagent. That is your reagents that we are using to measure this apply this method or for the procedure, this acid value. So here the phenolphthalein indicator. So the phenolphthalein indicator is your reagent that is used in this acid value. And sodium hydroxide titrant is also used, and ethanol ether solution is also used in this reagent in the in your this acid value. So the first is your phenolphthalein indicator. Here we have to weigh 1 gram of phenolphthalein and dissolve in 100 ml of ethanol. So here we are weighing this 1 gram of phenolphthalein and dissolving in 100 ml of ethanol. So this phenolphthalein is using as an indicator, and by weighing it 1 gram and dissolving in 100 ml of ethanol, we are making this indicator. Next is your sodium hydroxide titrant. So what is this titrant? So weigh accurately 4.0 gram of sodium hydroxide and place it in 1000 ml volumetric flask. Make up the volume with beaker. So here we have to weigh this 4 grams of sodium hydroxide, and we have to place it in the 1000 ml volumetric flask, and then we have to mark up to the mark with water. And after that, by accurately weighing this 4 gram of sodium hydroxide and placing it in 1000 ml volumetric flask and make up to the mark with water, the sodium hydroxide titrant is prepared. Next is your ethanol ether solution. So in your ethanol ether solution, we have to prepare a mixture of ethanol and diethyl ether, that is your 1:1 volume by volume. So neutralize with the sodium hydroxide titrant and add 1 ml of phenolphthalein indicator until pink coloration is observed. So here, freshly prepare the solution. So here we have to prepare ethanol. We have to prepare a mixture of ethanol and diethyl ether. So here the mixture of ethanol is prepared, this ethanol ether solution and diethyl ether. So in the ratio of 1:1 volume by volume. So we have prepared this ethanol and diethyl ether mixture in the volume of in the ratio of 1:1, that is in volume. Means 1 ml if we are taking this ethanol, then we have to take the 1 ml of this diethyl ether. If we are taking 100 ml of this ethanol, and then we are also taking this 100 ml of 100 ml of this diethyl ether. So after that, we are neutralizing this sodium hydroxide, utilizing this mixture of ethanol and diethyl ether with the sodium hydroxide titrant, and then we are adding 1 ml of this phenolphthalein indicator until pink coloration is observed. So freshly prepare the solution. So here we have So we have prepared the reagents here. First is the phenolphthalein indicator. Phenolphthalein indicator is prepared by the 1 gram of phenolphthalein that is dissolved in your 100 ml of ethanol. Secondly, we have prepared the sodium hydroxide titrant. In this, we are weighing 4 gram of sodium hydroxide in your. We are placing this and placing it in 1000 ml of volumetric flask. After that, we are make up this up to the mark with water. And next is the ethanol ether mixture. In this, we are taking the mixture, preparing a mixture of ethanol and diethyl ether that is in your 1:1, that is volume by volume. Then we are neutralizing neutralizing with sodium hydroxide titrant and adding 1.0 ml of phenolphthalein indicator until pink coloration is observed. So here we are neutralizing this ethanol ether mixture with this sodium titrant, sodium hydroxide titrant, and then after and adding slowly 1 ml of phenolphthalein indicator until we observed a pink color in that mixture. And then after that we are preparing this all these solutions freshly. We are preparing this. Next is your standardization of your sodium hydroxide titrant. So now here we have to standardize the sodium hydroxide titrant. So here we will weigh, we are going to weigh accurately sodium 0.6 gram of potassium hydroxide phthalate, and then it is previously dried to constant weight at 105 degrees centigrade and place it in a 250 ml conical flask, and then we are adding 50 ml of water. Then it is shake it well. Then add 2 drops of phenolphthalein indicator and then titrate the solution with sodium hydroxide titrant until pink coloration can be observed. So here we are weighing the 0.6 gram of potassium hydroxide phthalate, and which was previously dried to your constant weight at 105 degrees centigrade, and we are placing it in a 250 ml conical flask, and then we are adding this in a 50 ml of water. After that, we are shaking well, and then we are adding 2 drops of phenolphthalein indicator, titrate the solution. Then in this, the solution that we have made, we have, after weighing the 0.6 gram of potassium hydrogen phthalate, and which was previously dried to your 105 degrees centigrade, and we have placed the 0.6 gram of potassium hydrogen phthalate in a 250 ml of conical flask, and after that we are adding 50 ml of water. So we are mixing it and we are shaking it so that it can be equally mixed in the water. After that we have added 2 drops of phenolphthalein indicator in it. So here 2 drops of phenolphthalein indicator is added in the solution. After that the titrate the solution with sodium hydroxide titrant until pink coloration can be observed. So here we are titrating the solution of this potassium hydrogen phthalate with the sodium hydrogen hydroxide titrant, and we will add until there is a pink coloration. Pink coloration is observed. So here pink coloration can be observed by titrating the a solution with the sodium hydroxide titrant. Next, towards the end of titration, potassium hydrogen phthalate should be completely dissolved. So here, end of the titration, when this titration is completed, then we have to add potassium hydrogen phthalate should be completely dissolved. So in this, the potassium sodium hydrogen phthalate should be dissolved completely. So we have to calculate the concentration of sodium hydroxide titrant according to the following equation. So we are calculating the concentration of sodium hydroxide titrant according to the following equation. That is your CnAOH equals to WC8H5CO4 and into PC8H5CO4 into 1000 upon PnAOH into MWC8H5CO4. So here where your CaOH is your molarity of sodium hydroxide titrant, that is in your mole per liter. Secondly, VNaOH is your volume of sodium hydroxide titrant used in your ml. Thirdly, MwC8H5KO4 is your molecular weight of your potassium hydrogen thalate, that is your 204.22 gram. So C8H5KO4 is your potassium hydrogen thalate. And next is your W. C8H5K04 is your weight of potassium hydroxide used. So the weight which we have used this of this potassium hydrogen thalate, that is W, that was 0.6 gram. Next, C8H5KO4 is your purity of potassium hydrogen thalate in percentage. So this is the purity that is of potassium hydrogen thalate in percentage. So here in the method and procedure, what we have done, we have prepared our reagents. That is your phenolphthalein indicator, sodium hydroxide titrant, and the ethanol ether solution. Firstly, this phenolphthalein indicator is prepared by weighing 1 gram of phenolphthalein indicator and dissolving it in 100 ml of ethanol. Secondly, sodium hydroxide titrant, that we have weighed here 4.0 gram of sodium hydroxide and place it in a 1000 ml volumetric flask and make up the mark with water. Thirdly, it is your ethanol ether solution, that is your prepare a mixture of ethanol and diethyl ether and neutralizing it with your sodium hydroxide titrant and then adding 1.0 ml of phenolphthalein indicator and until pink coloration, until there is a pink coloration, we should be observed. Next is your this ethanol ether solution should be prepared freshly. Next, second is your what we have to do is your standardization of sodium hydroxide titrant. So here we have to do the standardization of the sodium hydroxide titrant. So here we have to weigh accurately 0.6 gram of potassium hydrogen thalate, and this potassium hydrogen thalate should be previously dried at your 105 degrees centigrade at a constant rate. And we have placed it in a 250 ml of conical flask, and after that we are adding 50 ml of our water and then shaking it well. So here we are in the next step, we are adding our 2 drop of phenolphthalein indicator in it. Next, we are titrating this solution with the sodium hydroxide titrant and until there is a pink coloration can be observed. Next, we are doing the towards the end of titration. We are this potassium hydrogen thalate should be observed completely dissolved. After that, we are calculating the concentration of sodium hydroxide titrant according to the following equation. So here, for the calculation of the concentration of sodium hydroxide titrant, we have to use the following formula. That is your or equation. That is your concentration of molarity of your sodium hydroxide equals to your weight of potassium potassium hydrogen thalate and that we have used, and P into your P, that is your P, that is your purity of your potassium hydrogen sulfate, and into we are doing the calculation with 1000 and upon your BNaOH, that is your volume of sodium hydroxide titrant that we have used, and the MW is the molecular weight of the potassium hydrogen thalate. That is your 0.4.22 grams. So from this equation, we can calculate the concentration of the sodium hydroxide titrate. Next is the titration of the test solution. So now we have to do the titration of the test solution. So here we have to weigh accurately a quantity of the fatty oil and place it in a 250 ml conical flask. So what we are doing here for the titration of test solution, we are weighing our fatty oil and then we are placing it in a 250 ml of your conical flask. After that, we are adding 50 ml of ethanol ether solution. So after placing this fatty oil in your conical flask, then we are adding 50 ml of this ethanol ether solution, and after that we are shaking it well. If necessary, reflux the mixture gently under the substances completely dissolved. So we are shaking this solution, this fatty oil and this 50 ml of ethanol ether solution. After that we are refluxing. If necessary, we are refluxing this mixture until the substance is completely dissolved. Until the substance is completely dissolved. Next, we are titrating this solution. We are titrating the solution with sodium hydroxide titrant. So until pink coloration can be observed, which persists for 30 seconds. So here we are. So here we are titrating the solution with sodium hydroxide titrant, and until pink coloration, until this pink color can be observed, which persists for 30 seconds. So here this titrating of the solution with sodium hydroxide titrant, this will persist for 30 seconds, because after 30 seconds this pink coloration can be observed. After that we have to measure the value of volume of sodium hydroxide titrant that is used in this for titrating the solution, and also calculate the acid value according to the following equation. So here we are calculating the acid value according to this following equation. So here it is your free fatty acid percentage that we have to calculate by titer volume into the normality of your NaOH. So how much we have used the titrant, and that volume we have to write in this equation, and the normality of this NaOH, and into 28.2 upon weight of sample. So how much we have taken this fatty acid sample, that we have to write here. After that, we have to calculate this acid value, and the acid value can be calculated by the percentage that has been given after the upper equation, and that is your percentage FFA, that is your free fatty acid. We are multiplying it with your 1.99. So from this equation and from this method preparation, preparing that solutions, and after titration of the test solution, we can calculate our acid value. Next analytical constant is the saponification value. So the saponification value is the fats and oils that are the principal stored form of energy in many organisms. So these fats and oils are the stored form. These are the stored form of energy in many organisms. They are highly reduced compound and are derivatives of fatty acids. So these fats and oils are highly reduced compounds, and these are the derivatives of your fatty acids. So here, these fats and oil, which are the main source of the, which are the stored form of the energy in many organisms. These are highly reduced compounds, and these are the derivatives of your fatty acids. So fatty acids are the carboxylic acids with hydrocarbon chain of 4 to 36 carbons. So they can be saturated or unsaturated. The simplest lipid constructed from fatty acids are triacylglycerol or triglycerides. So these triacylglycerols are composed of 3 fatty acids. Each are linked, each in ester linkage with a single glycerol, since the polar hydroxyl of glycerol in the polar carboxylate of the fatty acids are bound in ester linkage. The triacylglycerols are non-polar hydrophobic molecules which are insoluble in water. And saponification is the hydrolysis of fats and oil under basic conditions, so that to afford glycerol and the salt of the concentrate corresponding fatty acids. So here, saponification value, in the saponification value, the fats and oils. These fats and oils are the principal stored form. So these fat and oils are the principal stored form of energy in many organisms, and they are highly reduced. So these fat and oils are highly reduced, and these are the derivative of your fatty acids. And these fatty acids are the carboxylic acids that are having, these fatty acids are the carboxylic acids that are having the chain that are having the hydrocarbon chain of 4 to 36 carbon, they are saturated. They can be saturated or unsaturated. So these fatty acids are saturated and unsaturated, and they are containing the hydrocarbon chain with the carboxylic acid, and this hydrocarbon chain is of 4 to 36 carbon. And the simplest lipid that is constructed from fatty acids are triacylglycerol or triglycerides. So here these are the simplest lipid that are constructed from the fatty acids, a triacylglycerol or triglycerides. And the lipids that are constructed from fatty acids. So the lipids are these are the lipids, triacylglycerol or triglycerides. These are the lipids that are constructed from the fatty acids. So these are the fat or oils also. You can also call them fats and oils. So here, these triacylglycerols are composed of these triacylglycerols that are composing of the three fatty acids, and they are linked with the ester linkage with the single glycerol. And since the polar hydroxyl of glycerol and the polar carboxylate of the fatty acids are bound in the ester linkage. So this triacylglycerol is containing a carboxylic acid and your or hydroxyl, and these are bonded in an ester linkage, and the triacylglycerols are non-polar. So these triacylglycerols that are formed from the hydroxyl of glycerol, that polar part of hydroglycerol, and the polar carboxylate of the fatty acid, they are bound by a ester linkage. So these triacylglycerols are non-polar. Triacylglycerols are non-polar. These are hydrophobic molecules. These are hydrophobic molecules, and these are insoluble in water. So these all are insoluble in water. So this saponification is the hydrolysis. This is the hydrolysis of fats or oils. This is the hydrolysis of fats or oil under basic condition to afford glycerol. So this is converting into this triacylglycerol by the reaction with this potassium hydroxide. These are forming a glycerol as well as the potassium salt of the corresponding fatty acids. Next is the definition. So definition of the saponification value of oil, fat, or an ester is defined as the number of milligram of potassium hydroxide, that's the number of milligram of potassium hydroxide that is required to completely neutralize the free acids to saponify the esters present in 1 gram of the substance. So these saponification value of this fats and oil or an ester, it is defined as the number of milligrams. So here we have to take the number of milligrams of this potassium hydroxide that is neutralizing the free fatty acid, and to saponify the esters. So these are also saponifying the esters that is present in 1 gram of the substance, and this 1 gram of the substance is neutralizing the fatty acid, and which is resulting from the complete hydrolysis of 1 gram of the oil or fat. So the significance of this saponification value is that here the magnitude of saponification value gives an idea about the average molecular weight of the fat or oil. Secondly, the higher the molecular weight of the fat, the smaller is its saponification value. Saponification value also indicates the length of carbon chain of the acid that is present in the particular oil or fat, and higher the saponification value, greater is the percentage of the strong chain acid that is present in the glycerides of oil or fats. So here the significance of the saponification value is that the magnitude of saponification value is giving us the idea that what is the average molecular weight of the fat or oil. It is also showing that if the molecular weight of the fat is higher, then the saponification value should be smaller. Next, the saponification value is also indicating that the length of carbon chain of the acid, if the length of the carbon chain of an acid is present in the particular oil or fat or not. And fourthly, the higher the saponification value, if the value of the saponification value is higher, then there is a short chain acid, percentage of short chain acid is present in the glycerides of the oil or fat. So the reagents that are required in the saponification value to calculate the saponification value is your ethanolic KOH. That is that we are in this the ethanol concentration. Ethanol is your volume 95% volume by volume. Secondly, the potassium hydroxide, which are using 0.9 normal normality. Next is your fat solvent. Next is your hydrochloric acid, that is 0.9, and last is your phenolphthalein indicator, that is dissolved in 1% in ethanol. Next, the procedure. So what is the procedure for performing this saponification value? That is, you have to weigh the 1 gram of your fat in a tiered beaker, and then we have to dissolve this 1 gram of fat in about 3 ml of the fat solvent, that is your ethanol or your ether mixture. Secondly, we have to do quantitatively, we have to transfer the content of the beaker 3 times with a further 7 ml of the solvent. So we have to transfer the content of the beaker 3 times with a further 7 ml of the solvent. After that, we have to add 25 ml of 0.5 normal alcoholic KOH and mix well, attach this to a reflux condenser. So we have to add this 25 ml of 0.5 normal. We have to add this 25 ml of the 0.5 normal alcoholic KOH, and we have to mix it well, and we have to attach it to a reflux condenser, and then we have to set up another reflux condenser as a blank with all other reagent that is present in the fat. That is present except the fat. We have to not use the fat here. So we have to place both the flasks in a boiling water bath for 30 minutes. In one, we have taken the fat, and in secondly, we are not taking the fat. We are only taking the blank reagents. We are taking secondly as a blank, and it is having the second reflex and condenser is having the all other reagents. So next, in that we have placed both the flask in the boiling water bath for 30 minutes. After that, we are cooling the flask to room temperature, and then we are adding this phenolphthalein indicator to both of the flasks, and then titrate with 0.5 normal HCl. So after adding the phenolphthalein indicator in both of the flasks, we are titrating it with 0.5 normal HCl. After that, we are noting down the endpoint of the blank and test, and after this, we are taking the readings of the blank and test, and we are just calculating the difference between this blank and the test reading, and giving the number of milliliter of 0.5 normal KOH that is required to saponify 1 gram of fat. So now here the calculating this saponification, we are using this equation, that is your saponification value equals to 28.05 titer value of blank minus your titer value of your rate value of your test sample upon weight of sample, that is a 1 gram. Next is your analytical constant, that is your ester value. So the ester value is defined as the mg of KOH, that is a milligram of KOH that is required to react with glycerine, that is a glycerol or glycerine, after saponify 1 gram of fat. So it is calculated from the saponification value and the acid value. So this ester value can be calculated from the saponification and the ester. First, we have to calculate the saponification value and the acid value, then this ester value can be calculated. So this ester value equals to saponification value SV, that we are using in short, and minus acid value AV. So here the percentage glycerine equals to ester value into 0.054664. So next is your analytical constant, that is your iodine value. So this iodine value, that is your iodine, gives the measure of the average degree of unsaturation of a lipid. The higher the iodine value, the greater the number of C double bond C double bonds. By definition, the iodine value is expressed as the gram of iodine absorbed per 100 gram of lipid. So here the iodine value is giving us a measure of the how much degree of unsaturation of a lipid is there. So if the value of the iodine value is higher, it means there is a greater number of this unsaturated part in the fats or the oil. So in the lipid. So So by definition, the iodine value is expressed as the gram of iodine absorbed per 100 gram of lipid. So how much a gram of this iodine will be absorbed per 100 gram of lipid. So the iodine value is directly proportional to the degree of unsaturation, means the number of double bond. If the number of double bond increases, then the iodine value also increases, and inversely proportional to the melting point of liquid. So it is inversely proportional to the melting of liquid. If the melting point of the liquid is higher, then the value is lower. So an increase in IV indicates high susceptibility of lipid to oxidative density due to the higher degree of unsaturation. So here, increase in the value of iodine value here indicated that there is a susceptibility of lipid to oxidative density, and it is due to the presence of your degree of unsaturation. Next, fatty acids react with halogen, resulting in the addition of halogen at the C double bond site. In this reaction, iodine monochloride react with the unsaturated bond to produce a dihalogenated single bond, of which one carbon has bound to an atom of iodine. So here the unsaturated fatty acid is from this unsaturated, we are addition of the halogen to this double bond, and we are getting here the iodine monochloride react with this unsaturated bond, and we are producing here dihalogenated single bond, and in which one carbon is attached to the iodine also. So after the reaction is complete, the amount of iodine has reacted is determined by adding a solution of potassium iodide to the reaction part. So after this, we are adding this amount of Ki, that is a potassium iodide, to the reaction, and there is a reaction, that is your KCl plus I2. This causes the remaining unreacted ICI to form molecular iodine, and the liberated iodine is then titrated with a standard solution of 0.1 normal sodium thiosulfate. So here it is reacting with the sodium thiosulfate, and we are getting sodium iodide Na2SO2 S2O4. So the saturated fatty acid will not give the halogenation reaction if the iodine number is between 0 to 70. It will be a fat, and it will, if the value exceeds 70, it is oil. So starch is used as an indicator for this reaction, so that the liberated iodine will react with starch to give purple colored product, and thus the endpoint can be observed. So the material required for this iodine value is your iodine monochloride reagent. Second is your potassium iodide. Third is your standardized 0.1 normal sodium thiosulfate. And fourth is your 1% starch indicator solution. Fifth, chloroform. Then fat sample in chloroform. Iodination flask. Burette stand with magnetic stirrer, and glass pipette, measuring cylinder, and the distilled water. Material required for calculating the iodine value. So the method. So in this method, I arrange all the reagent sample we have prepared and required in the table. Prepare out 10 ml of fat sample, which dissolved in chloroform, to an ionization flask, that is your test, and add 20 ml of monochloride reagent in the flask, and then we have to mix the content, and then the flask is allowed to stand for half an hour incubation in dark. Then we have to set up the blank in another ionization flask by adding 10 ml chloroform to the flask, and add the blank 20 ml of iodine monochloride reagent, and mix the content in the flask thoroughly. And then we have to also incubate the blank in dark for 30 minutes. So after that, take out, meanwhile, we have to take out the test for incubation after 30 minutes, and add 10 ml of potassium iodide solution into the flask. And then we have to rinse the stopper, and then add the sides of the flask using 50 ml distilled water. Then we have to titrate the test against standardized sodium thiosulfate solution until a pale straw color is observed. Add about 1 ml starch indicator into the content in the flask. A purple color is observed. Then we have to continue the titration until the color of solution in the flask turns colorless. So the disappearance of the blue color is recorded at the end point of the titration, and similarly this procedure is repeated for the flask that is labeled blank. Next, record the endpoint value of the blank. After that, we have to calculate the volume of thiosulfide used is blank minus test, and iodine number of fat equals to equivalent weight of iodine into volume of your sodium thiosulfate. Yes, sodium. What we have used? Sodium thiosulfate. So sodium thiosulfate, I'm saying correct, sodium thiosulfate, and this normality of sodium thiosulfate into 100 into 10 raised to minus 3 upon the weight of spat sample used for analysis. Next, which is the equivalent weight of iodine. We have used your 127 and the normality of sodium thiosulfate is your 0.1. Or we can use also this formula iodine value, the volume of the sodium thiosulfide used into normality of sodium thiosulfide into 0.17 gram per milli equivalent weight of iodine into 100 upon weight of fat sample used for analysis. So the Humble method, this is your fat or oil sample is dissolved in carbon tetrachloride and it is treated with your excess of standard solution of ethanolic iodine in presence of your mercury chloride. Here unused iodine is also calculated by titration with fat sodium, so standard sodium thiosulfide solution. Next is your Wich solution. Wich method, this method is also used to for iodine monochloride and acetic acid in presence of iodine. And the calculation of this iodine value from the following equation: 1.269 into B minus A upon W, where W is the weight of fat or oil taken. After B is the reading of actual titration and A is the reading of blank titration. Significance of this iodine value gives us the idea of the proportion of unsaturated fatty acid, both in the free and the combined form of ester, and the susceptibility of rancidity increases the oil or fat having higher iodine value. So the iodine value helps to indicate the composition of complex mixture as well as your pure substance, and it is also determined by the following method. Next is the analytical constant, that is the acetyl value. So acetyl value measures the free hydroxyl group in the substance, and that is determined by acetylation, that is the number of milligram of potassium hydroxide that is used to neutralize the acetic acid that is formed by the hydrolysis of 1 gram of acetylated substances. So the result indicates the introduction of the acetyl group in the place of free hydroxyl group. So it is a measure of number of hydroxyl group that is present in fat or oil. The method is here, we have to determine the saponification value of the substance under examination, and we have to acetylate the substance under examination by the following method. Here we have taken 10 gram with 20 ml of acetic anhydride in a 200 ml flask, which is attached to a reflux condenser. Then they support the flask on a sheet of resistant material in which a hole of about 4 centimeters in diameter has been cut, and this is heated with a small flame not more than 25 mm in height and which does not impinge on the bottom of the flask. So here we have to boil it for 2 hours, and then we have to pour it into the 600 ml of water contained in a large beaker and add 0.2 gram of fumaric powder and boil for 30 minutes. Then we have to cool and transfer, and then we have to wash the acylated product with 3/4 quantity each of 50 ml of warm saturated solution sodium chloride until the washing are no longer acid to liquid litmus paper. Then we have to determine the saponification value, and this is calculated by this acetyl value equals to 1335 B minus A upon 1335 minus A. A is the saponification value of the substance, and B is the saponification value of the acylated substance. So the last is your Richer-Meisel test. That is your it is also determined for examining the fat, and it is also an indicator of how much volatile fatty acid can be extracted from fat to saponification value, and it is also equal to the number of milliliter of 0.1 normal hydroxide solution that is necessary for the neutralization for the water soluble volatile fatty acid that is distilled and filtered from 5 gram of given saponified fat. And this material is saponified by heating with glycerol sodium hydroxide solution, and we have to split by the treatment with dilute sulfuric acid. Then the determination can have been used principally for analysis for butter and margarine. Butterfly fats contain mainly butyric acid glyceride, and butyric acid is volatile and insoluble in water. Next, the butterfly also contains this butyric acid glycerides, and it is volatile and soluble in water. No other fat contains butyric acid glyceride. Therefore, the Richer-Meisel value of the butter fat is higher than that for the another fat. So the reagent that we are needed here: glycerin, concentrated sodium hydroxide solution, dilute H2SO4 solution, NaOH solution, phenolphthalein indicator, and the ethyl alcohol. So procedure, this is the procedure for this test. So here we have to weigh this and we have to heat this, and if the solution is not clear, then or it is darker than the yellow, then we have to repeat the saponification. Next, we have to add 0.6 gram or 0.7 7 gram of cremite stone grains, and we have to place the flask in an asbestos board, and then the flame, so that the 110 ml of distill shall be collected within 19 to 21 minutes. And we have to keep the water in the condenser. After that, we have to distill exactly reaches the 110 ml mark on the flask, and we have to remove, and we have to quickly replace the flask by 25 ml measuring cylinder. Then we have to filter the liquid under this 9 centimeter Wattman paper number 4, and we have to add the phenolphthalein solution and titrate it with 0.1 sodium hydroxide solution, and we have to run the blank test without a pad by using a small same quantity of the reagent. So this is the Richard value apparatus that we have used here. Next is your questions. Which of the following molecules can act as a molecular chaperone for assisting the folding of protein? That is your lipid. Next is your which of the following macromolecule can be most structurally diverse among living worlds? That is your lipid. Next is your fat storing cells of vertebrates are called adipocytes. Next, the enzyme abundantly distributed adipocytes and germinating seeds are your lipase. Next is your rendicity of liquid of lipid-rich foodstuff is due to oxidation of fatty acid. Next is your number of milligram of KOH required to neutralize fatty acid present in 1 gram of fat is called saponification value, acid value. Next, naturally occurring fat are L type. Generally, fats with unsaturated fatty acids are dash at room temperature. That is your liquid. Greater the number of carbon atom in chain of fatty acid is melting point will be higher. Dietary fats are transported to chylomicrons. So these are the references from where you can study this topic. Thank you so much for today's topic.